So I usually do talks in my room with the camera on, and I'm lying, I would say lying in bed. I'm in my futon, which is, I sleep on a mat on the floor because I don't have room for a bed in this room. I had one. Actually, I tried. It took up too much room, and I moved out of here and moved back in last year, and I just got rid of the bed. So I've been lying on this futon ever since. It was meant to be a temporary thing. I decided not to get into the bed, so I just sleep on the futon and more room. And I just had this idea, like, I want to do a talk, but I don't want to, like, get up and, put the lights on and set up the camera. So this is a first. It's a kind of voice memo, I guess you can call it. And I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to publish this or not. It may just be for me. I actually did a talk the other night, and with video, and I edited it, and I still haven't published it, and I'm not sure I may not. So maybe some of the things from that will creep in here, but I mainly want to talk about what relationships and life, and not the way that maybe it's going to sound when I say relationships and life. Most people think, okay, so what? This isn't going to be about relationships in the typical way. What I've been thinking about, to get to the point, and again, this may just be my personal memo, I'm not sure. I might just publish it tomorrow. I just don't know yet. But, well, I don't know. I mean, I've spoken about perspective before. I even did a spoken word piece with a guitar improv last year called Perspective. But what I'm realizing, and this goes back to perspective and relationships, and of course life, but perspective is everything. And we are all living in the same world, some would say, right? That, like, in other words, we have our feet on the ground, and we're human, we have to breathe the air. And if we're in a community of some sort, whether we know the people within it or don't, we're walking through the same world, but we all have completely different consciousness. I was going to say brains or minds or personalities, perspectives, but like our consciousness, which goes beyond like the immediate surroundings, or even like, where we were born, where we grew up, but the things that we've experienced, and whatever karmic baggage, if you will, whatever energetic baggage, if you will, whatever things we've inherited genetically and or from our environment and or we've learned, and yes, personality, all those things, all those aspects give us a particular worldview, right? So I think what happens is each of us tends to assume things based on our own assumptions about things, i.e. our perspective or our beliefs and our, right? understanding of things and how things are or should be or shouldn't be or whatever. And when we interact, not only with, like, say, strangers or other people we don't know well, but even when we interact with people we do know well or think we know well or have been interacting with, over time, maybe we've had, long conversations about things. Maybe we've been, if it's a partner, intimate physically or otherwise, or not. And this could go for any male, female, any kind of, could be a family member, it could be, like I say, if it's a partner or a lover, but then it could also not be, or a close friend, same sex or not. Whatever it is, we think we know the person. We think we understand the person's perspective, worldview. We think that that perspective or worldview is similar, usually, to our own, unless we know, like, there's some issues that we differ on. And of course, if we know a person very well, we might know this, but there's always that aspect that we assume something, but we don't really know. And of course, people change too. I mean, their ideas could change, shift, and their attitudes or their beliefs even, or their, depending on their mood for that day or their hormonal balance or whatever. But we assume so many things, and we speak from our perspective where we, if we're debating something, we're having a discussion or a debate or an argument or just even talking, we come at it from the only way we can, which is our perspective. And we often assume not only about a person, but, like, if I'm giving a talk in front of a class, I have to make a general assumption that people understand what I'm talking about, or that I'm not just talking to the wall, although there are times where, right, there might be a student that obviously I can see isn't paying attention, or the student's sleeping, but the other students, I don't know how much they not just comprehend, but it's not like there's a right or wrong way only, but like how much, there's like some understanding of it, or like the understanding may be totally different. It's like a piece of art is interpreted in a bazillion different ways by a bazillion different people, if there are that many people looking at it or listening to it or whatever it is. But even if it's 5 people, we're going to have a totally different perspective. And even if it's 5 people that the artist or well, their interpretation of it may be completely different from yours or what you would imagine they would interpret as being. And I think we walk around with all these assumptions, and I think we're wrong much more frequently than we realize, even if the other person doesn't give us an indication that we're wrong, or maybe they don't realize what we're thinking and they have their own assumptions. So we're not really actually connecting on any level except a very superficial one, where like we both feel we're connecting and we're both nodding and smiling at each other perhaps and feeling good because we feel we've connected, but then maybe neither of us, if it's a two-way thing, have actually connected. And of course, when it gets down to like where you're having an argument with someone or you're not seeing eye to eye, that becomes very obvious. But even the times when it's not obvious, it may be that we're just literally just not even anywhere near being on the same page. This is something I'm beginning to think and realize more and more. Like, I'll have conversations with people, and often it's either face-to-face or by SMS or something, because unfortunately it's the world we live in, and I so infrequently actually sit down and talk to people face-to-face. I keep saying I don't have friends in Tokyo. What I mean by that is that I don't see people on a regular basis that I would like sit down with and have coffee or dinner together, or whether it's eating out or like inviting someone to my place. Nobody comes here. I live alone, and nobody, like, I can literally count the number of people I've invited into my room on one hand in 5-6 years, this room. But when I lived in, for example, before in Fukuoka, I had people in and out all the time. I had band people, friends, my girlfriend. So anyway, So when I say I don't have friends, that's what I mean. And also when I say, like, I'm having a conversation, it's often just like an SNS. Means even if it's private messaging, but it's like, I'm typing rather than speaking face to face. But what I've realized even with this is that, like, and especially with that, because there's so many chances for misunderstanding, misinterpretation, even with emocons, whatever you call them, it's still, and I tell this to people sometimes, and it's like, nobody really seems to understand this anymore. It's important to, even if you're not living in the same location, to, like, at least do a Zoom or something so you can see each other's face and hear each other's voice, or at least do like a, telephone style conversation with audio, even it's online. But anyway, what I'm realizing, whether it's with texting or voice, but usually it's texting these days, it's like, how many, situations lead to just misunderstandings between people, and why? Because, and not just, it's worse, they say, right, with male, female. I was thinking about this before, relationships. It does come down to romantic ones, but like even just with anyone. And again, doesn't matter the relationship or the sex, male, female, or, it does matter, obviously, but it can happen with anyone. And it can happen with your closest friend or family member, or with someone you don't know at all. And sometimes you feel you're clicking with almost a total stranger or someone you've just met, but then you get to know the person more and you realize that you made assumptions and the person made assumptions. It's not like a bad thing, but what I think we need to learn to do as humans and social beings, whether or not we're being extremely social or a little bit social, and this is actually, I'm realizing too, why AI is so popular, because AI will just agree with you, compliment you, make you feel great, and stroke your ego, if you will, and make you think that your assumptions about it are correct, which people usually don't do in the end. And so then people get addicted to this, and they think it's like they're talking to a real person, but it's better because they don't have any conflict, right? But that's scary, because then what happens when you talk to a real person? That's not the way it is. So I think we need to learn to not to fake it better so the other person feels comfortable, but to just recognize that fact and keep it in mind. And so then there's never a need for emotionally charged, arguments or whatever, but then also realizing how different people's perspectives are. You can see why the world is so chaotic. You can see why people are constantly fighting, trying to grab each other's power, and, or when I say you, at least I feel I've gotten a bit of insight into that. And into my own conflicts in the past, and why people got upset with me, or why things didn't work out, or why people lashed out, and then you can emotionally detach from it too, which doesn't mean be detached and I don't care. It means you can recognize what caused it, and then you can not, attach to the outcome. It's like you see why, and then you can realize it. Hopefully then you can, not repeat it the next time, or like if it happens, you can take a step back and you become calmer, and you become much less emotionally charged. And even if someone lashes out at you, you realize they're projecting. Basically, everyone's projecting their own ideas onto others. And depending on how one reacts, that can also change the entire dynamic, for better, for worse. So But then you do kind of become isolated. Dare I use the word lonely anymore, or isolated at least, because you realize what this is, and then it's like, well, how much to get involved or interact, which isn't to say one doesn't need to run away from it, and we need socialization, but like, it's like you don't want to engage in that aspect of conversation, or, it's not worth it. So then either you end up being just exceedingly superficial or avoiding people altogether, or you find your people, but that takes time and it has to kind of happen naturally. And so in my case, there are people like that in my life, I think so, but they're not like, they don't tend to be around all the time, right? So, and they may be not here in Tokyo even, so then, in my case, because I'm in Tokyo, so then, you just kind of end up alone, without people around, and without girlfriends, and without all that stuff. You just, it's not being antisocial, it's not running away, it's not that you're a Grinch, and none of those things. Actually, I love, just smiling and laughing and making people smile and laugh. It's just great, and without it, it's actually quite depressing to me. So this was a thing, talking about perspective. I just had these messages of, acquaintance of mine who says those things don't matter. It just, everything needs to be practical, and if it's not practical, why bother smiling at people? And if they don't smile at me, who cares? And so that's why Tokyo's fine. And I understand that perspective, but it's not mine. And so, again, there it is. It's like everyone just has a different way of looking at it. And without warmth and compassion in the world, I feel I can survive in that world. I'm surviving it for 6 years here. And certainly I'm concentrated on my own thing. And certainly I've gotten stronger as how can I say, I have the ability to be alone and not, but it's not natural to like live inside and just, like if I were to make music 24/7, I'd probably go insane. As important as that is to me, and I do make a lot of music, for example, or like, right, or I'm grading papers all day, I need to take a break from that, right? I need to take a walk, or I need to see somebody and even just chit chat, or just, I appreciate deeper conversations to chit chat, but like, or I talk like I'm doing now, usually to my camera. Now I'm lying down with my eyes closed and doing this talk. It's the first time. Why not? This works. Viewers of YouTube, they don't need to see my face. I have a feeling some of the people listening to my talks are like doing other things. It's just in the background anyway. So you just put earphones in and you don't need to, watch me in my room and look at my, my furniture, which I don't have that much of it anyway. So these are my thoughts tonight. And I just wanted to put them down in a voice memo because my eyes are closed. I'm not going to write it, and I'm not going to film it. So I had this idea. The fan's on low. Hopefully it's not too loud. The recording. I put it on low because it's kind of hot. So yeah, I guess the theme is perspective, and always goes back to solitude in a way, but it's not a negative thing. Though, again, it can be a bit lonely, if you will, but what's more lonely is being around people that don't understand. You feel misunderstood, or you feel the conversation's just nothing's connecting in any direction, and it's like time to go home and do a talk, or watch, a talk, or play my guitar, or take a walk, or just do something else. All right, that's it, I guess. Probably have other things I could talk about, but that's my voice memo experiment. I go to sleep. Possible to be up really early tomorrow. So, signing off. Marc Lowe, with his unique perspective. Good night.